Disney keeps making promises about things to come in the theme parks.
And what if we told you Disney has lied to you and gotten away with it?
Here are 25 lies Disney's gotten away with.
Staying more days will cost less. Disney has incentivized going to the parks for more days by decreasing the price of a park ticket per day the longer you stay. If we break this down, it's like this. A Disney World park ticket for one park for one day starts at $109. That price can vary based on the day you pick to go, but we're working with $109. But if you go for 10 days, that price drops down and can get as low as $65 per day. And this is all not including a park hopper option. But it's $65 per day times 10 days. So really, instead of $109 for your trip ticket, you'll be spending $650. So yes, it can be cheaper for a ticket per day to go to Disney World for more days than just one, but overall you'll be paying more for your tickets. And let's also consider all the other expenses you would have to have for those days. You would need a hotel for each additional day, which will be over $100 at least, even at one of Disney's value resorts. Then you'll have the extra cost of food for each day you're in the park, plus if you purchase Lightning Lane Multipass on any of those days. That's another added cost. So this lie that it's cheaper to extend your trip is simply not true.
Now don't worry, it is possible to save money when you're here. We have a bunch of videos up on the channel. For example, the cheap day versus the most bougie day possible. So definitely check those out on the channel because it is possible to save and enjoy.
It is, for sure. We just don't want you to believe the lie that Disney is telling you.
Liar! Okay, listen, everybody listen, I've commandeered this video to talk about a lie that is very, very important to me. The Main Street Theater. Look, this is an exciting project that we first got to peek at the D23 Expo in 2017. It's going to be a new theater for Magic Kingdom. Back at the Expo, Disney shared that a new spot for world-class entertainment would be coming to Main Street, USA. Now, the theater was meant to be based on the Willis Wood Theater that existed in Kansas City in the 1920s. Walt Disney actually lived in Kansas City for part of his life after leaving Marceline, and that it's an essential place for several moments of Disney history. The theater was going to be built behind the existing Main Street USA, and guests would have been able to access it near Tony's Town Square. Permits were originally filed that included this theater in them, but the project never came to be. In 2018, Disney ended up removing it from their page discussing projects that are coming soon. And that was, well, basically the end of it. If you want a huge theatrical Broadway-style experience like you were supposed to get here at Magic Kingdom, you're probably going to have to head to Hollywood Studios, maybe Epcot, definitely Animal Kingdom. Now my take on it is I really thought, because they were looking at like what would belong here in Main Street, USA. If you're familiar with the Golden Mickeys from the cruise ships or Mickey and the Magical Map, it was going to be like a vignette style show like that. We're going to see a bunch of different characters. And rumor also has it that the reason that the theater didn't go up is because there would have been no parking for cast members backstage. Whoa, it just got windy. Disney doesn't want me to know. I'm just telling people this.
Sage, what happened? What are you doing?
Nothing. There was a smudge on the lens. Better. Epcot just completed its massive transformation back in June with the addition of new rides, new restaurants, and a lot more. Part of the transformation that Disney had previously announced was a festival center right in the heart of World Celebration. The center was supposed to be a multi-level building that would become the new home for live events and serve as the center for Epcot's 4 festivals. There would be a plaza, expo, and even a park on the top level. We even saw a model of the building placed inside the Epcot experience at one point. But the model was later removed from the Epcot experience, and a Walt Disney World News press release changed in a significant way that pointed to some big updates with this spot. In that press release, Disney said that there will be new retail and dining locations, along with a newly reimagined festival area that will be home to ever-changing events in a unique new environment. So what you're saying is the festival center became a festival area. Got it. And now we have this, Communicore Hall. Communicore Hall is an indoor space that is the first fully purpose-built structure and festival programming. It'll be home to an exhibition and gallery space that can host a wide variety of experiences like food, fine art, and a lot more. There will also be a demonstration kitchen and mixology bar that will give chefs the space to showcase the global experiment of food. However, we have currently not seen it in full festival mode just yet, as it's only been open for a couple months. So right now, it still kind of looks just like a little bit of like a Epcot cafeteria. Quincy and Emma did get a sneak peek of what the festival, what the Communicore Hall will inevitably look like during the media event, where we saw that mixology bar and even some live band in here, live music. They're able to open up all of these walls to really fill out the space and make it feel lived in and exciting. Now, many people have made their opinions very clear on this new space in Epcot, but we haven't seen it in all of its glory yet. And now, at the time of filming, later this month, Food and Wine will kick off. And it'll be the first time we actually get to see Communicore Hall in all of its glory. We'll get to see what Imagineers really had in mind for the space. In fact, you know it, AllEars.net will be there for opening day of Food and Wine Festival, where we literally review everything. Just remember, just click, smash that like button, click that bell icon to be notified. You know, all the things. Disney World. Bikini Bottom.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
That was the vibe I was going for.
Okay, see, I didn't watch SpongeBob, so...
What?
Yeah.
You never watched SpongeBob?
No,
Seriously?
I didn't.
What did you watch as a kid?
PBS, Arthur.
Arthur, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the girl?
DW.
DW, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome back to AllEars.
Now, if you thought Secrets and Lies were new for Disney, you'd be wrong. Secrets and Lies are embedded into Disney's history, going all the way back to Disney World's very creation. The Disney World project was called Project X to keep it hidden from the world and even from most people within the Disney company. And the secrecy continued as the plans became more finalized and land started to be purchased. If people knew that Walt Disney was behind the land purchases, you can just imagine what the prices would head up to.
Oh, for sure.
To avoid this issue and keep prices low while still being able to purchase huge portions of land, Disney, working with one of the company's lawyers, Robert Price Foster, set up a variety of dummy corporations with some rather interesting names, including MT Lot Real Estate, Bay Lake Properties, I-4, and Reedy Creek Ranch Lands.
Now look, using this system, Walt Disney was able to buy up to 27,000 acres of land by 1965 without anyone fully knowing who was behind this purchase. Of course, rumors did start to fly around, but Walt denied involvement publicly. The deception, lies, the deceit, the wrongful doing, the downright nastiness. Eventually the secret came out thanks in part to an article from the Orlando Sentinel, which is still around today for people who don't know. And as you might imagine, prices for the remaining land bought after the reveal were considerably more expensive than how the prices started out. Okay, we're talking about the comparison between $80 for the first acre bought to the $80,000 paid for. Oh my, that's wild. $80 to $80,000 by the time it was all said and done. That's
crazy.
All in all, Disney was able to buy about 27,440 acres at about $180 per acre. All while keeping it mostly secret. Seems like the lies here really worked out. When Epcot opened in 1982, there was a total of 9 pavilions in the World Showcase. There are now 11, but did you know there's actually space for a lot more pavilions to come to the World Showcase? Disney announced plans for Phase 2 pavilions, which included the countries of Equatorial Africa, Israel, Spain, and Venezuela back in the early 80s. The plans for most of these never-built pavilions were halted over financial troubles. In some cases, like Spain, deals were negotiated to begin construction, but changes in the leadership of the country caused plans to fall through. And over the years, it seemed like Italy and Germany might be getting a new neighbor when Puerto Rico, Iran, Soviet Union, and Switzerland were also in talks to fill in the empty space. As you can see, none of these plans were successful either. My question to you is, and I gotta know, drop it in the comments, if you were to bring one country here to the World Showcase, what would it be and why? Tell me, I gotta know. During Disney World's 50th anniversary, a new nighttime show, Harmonious, debuted in Epcot, replacing the long-beloved Illuminations and the temporary Epcot Forever show. Harmonious made use of multiple, very large barges located in the World Showcase Lagoon. The barges weren't exactly the most attractive things in the middle of the lagoon. They blocked guests' view across the lagoon to the pavilions, and they were big, bulky, and not really just themed, just big metal LED screens. Not exactly a gorgeous Epcot aesthetic. But Disney had a plan in mind to fix that. Disney announced that during the day, these barges would have a daytime fountain look, helping to alleviate a bit of that not-so-great look. We even saw some fountains being tested, but then nothing. We never saw the fountains being utilized during the day, as Disney promised. Instead, they put up some 50th anniversary designs and put up the giant barges in a big lagoon, and that was it. Now, once the 50th anniversary was over, it was announced that a new fireworks show was moving to Epcot. Disney's newest fireworks show, Luminous, The Symphony of Us. It debuted on December 5th, 2023, and this show features fireworks, water fountains, lasers, lighting effects, and classic Disney music. And honestly, some of my favorite mashups. I really like the music in this show. Now, Luminous, this show still has barges, but they're not as big as the Harmonious barges are, so I guess it's a little win, I guess. Look at it. Hey, you're not that bad. You're just a little small. Hey, buddy. You're okay. I gotta ask you a question. How much do you know about Disney's River Country?
I have heard many rumors.
Many rumors.
Yes.
Well, you might know all about Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard Beach. Disney World's very first water park is long gone. It was actually Disney's River Country. Disney's River Country was originally located on the shores of Bay Lake. That's Bay Lake. Behind us. It was near Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and had a similar rustic wilderness vibe. The water used in the park was even sourced directly from Bay Lake, and a number of slides allowed visitors to slide into the open waters of the lake.
You never gone swimming in the lake?
I'm not a lake guy. I'm an ocean clear water pool guy.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Well, why?
I'm not gonna picture you, who doesn't want to get pixie dusted, jumping in the lake water.
Nah, you're not right. I mean, wait, you're not wrong.
Although the water park had been there since 1976 and was only supposed to close down temporarily for a scheduled winter refurb in 2001, it never reopened. This was around the same time that the legendary Years Hotel was abandoned for a similar reason, the 9/11 recession. To cut costs, Disney just never reopened the park. It sat abandoned for years until it was demolished to make way for Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge, a project which we will soon find out has since been canceled.
Okay, well, we found out that I'm not a lake guy. Are you a lake girl?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
You like lakes?
Yeah. Now, let's keep talking about River Country for a little bit. Back in 2018, Disney announced that a new hotel would be coming to Disney World in the old site of River Country around Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort. The new hotel was set to be a deluxe resort called Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge.
Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? No one, 'cause this resort's not there anymore. Yes!
The hotel was set to open in 2022 and would have more than 900 hotel rooms and Disney Vacation Club villas and even a Princess and the Frog themed table service restaurant.
I love that. Well, back in 2020, an official Disney article that had some language about Reflections was updated to remove the language about Reflections. That same year, some sources reported that the project had been canceled. Now, it seemed Disney had given up on the project, especially with the company not filing any new permits for it. That is until a permit extension was filed just recently.
Ooh.
That extension was granted for 5 more years, which could mean that Disney has plans for Reflections after all. However, that isn't a guarantee that the project is back on Disney's radar. Just throwing that out there.
So although everyone has pretty much given up on Reflections, it seems that Disney has not completely forgotten it. With the company again announcing it had plans to spend $60 billion over the next decade to expand its theme park resorts, this could be one of the projects that gets picked back up. We'll certainly be keeping an eye out for more updates. Next slide. Disney transportation is efficient and comfortable all the time. Okay, so let's say you are inside the Disney bubble and are taking advantage of that free Disney World transportation. It's all going to be smooth sailing, right? Well, probably not. For this one, it really depends on each situation. Sometimes Disney World transportation is wonderful. Riding the Disney Skyliner for the first time, Disney magic is real. Watching Magic Kingdom appear as you speed by on the monorail, simply beautiful. We wish it were like this all the time, but to be perfectly honest, it's not. Lines to wait for Disney transportation can be absolute nightmares, especially early in the morning or late at night after a fireworks show. And when it's finally your turn to board the bus or monorail, you might be packed in with tons of other guests, which isn't exactly a zen experience. And what about when the transportation isn't running at all? For example, the Skyliner generally stops running during storms or heavy rain. If that happens to you, you'll have to find another way home. Don't worry, the buses or other Disney transportation will generally be available if that occurs. There are also some more scary possibilities, like when the Skyliner or monorail breaks down with guests inside. These problems have happened before and Disney does address them, but it's still a stressful experience. Most of the time we love Disney transportation, but the idea that it's perfect or infallible is just not true. To avoid the evening rush on buses or monorails, think about waiting around in the park for a little while after closing and waiting until those transportation lines go down. You'll also want to give yourself plenty of time to get around Disney World if you're relying on their transportation. We're talking an hour plus. Don't leave just 5 minutes between the moment you hop on the bus and your dining reservation time, for example. Mentally prepare for longer waits and give yourself lots of wiggle room to play with in case transportation lines are long or you hit other delays. Remember when Downtown Disney, now Disney Springs, had a whole section called Pleasure Island? Back in 1989, the section that sits between the marketplace and the west side was opened as Pleasure Island, a diverse warehouse district loaded with unique clubs open each evening. It was branded as an escape for adults, and for a number of years, it was quite popular. After the turn of the century, though, interest started to wane, and Disney began looking for ways to inject life into the space. In 2005, Disney leased a large portion of the land to what would later become Raglan Road Irish Pub, but was having trouble finding other tenants in such an adult-oriented space. The clubs that inhabited Pleasure Island began to close their doors due to lowered interest and the ongoing recession, and in 2008, the last clubs there closed their doors. Desperate for a way to fill the gap between the marketplace and the west side, in 2010, Disney announced construction on a new project to fill the space called Hyperion Wharf. Demolition even began on the site, but stopped almost as abruptly as it began in February of 2011. The Pleasure Island signs remained up, but construction walls surrounded the now demolished site, and it sat that way for 2 years. In March of 2013, plans for Disney Springs were announced. They promised to completely rebrand the entirety of Downtown Disney into one coherent, themed shopping district. The Marketplace and West Side sections remained, but the area that Pleasure Island resided in was rebranded as The Landing, better blending in with its surrounding areas. By 2015, the majority of work was completed on Disney Springs, and the area was officially rebranded to what we know today. A number of years ago, Disney announced that a new restaurant would be joining the already extensive Disney Springs lineup. Beatrix, a Chicago-based table service restaurant from Let Us Entertain You Enterprises, was set to come to Disney Springs in the former Bongo space. The restaurant was set to feature a bakery, full-service bar, and healthy options like vegetarian dishes and fresh squeezed juice cocktails. We started to see construction walls with signs for this spot popping up in Disney Springs, but then things got interesting. In 2020, construction on the restaurant was paused, as were many things largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We reached out to Beatrix, and at the time they said that the project had not been canceled, but a date to resume construction hadn't been determined. In 2021, we shared that rather than leave the space as a total construction zone, the plan was to convert it into a green space until the project could restart. Months later, we got a big update. No news had really been shared on Beatrix, but another new restaurant, also from Let Us Entertain You Restaurants, was announced for Disney Springs. Fast forward to December 2023 with the opening of Summer House on the Lake. Savor California-style cuisine and breezy beach vibes at this lively lakeside eatery where summer never ends. This is a table service restaurant that you can also step inside for some grab-and-go items, plus the cookie bar. If you haven't eaten here, you better check it out.
Another secret, this time a little monorail-y. It's a word I just made up. You likely know all about the 3 big monorail resorts in Disney World. We got Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, and Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. But did you know that Disney had originally planned to build other resorts in this area? And that is totally true. Disney's Asian Resort would have had 500 to 600 rooms built to mimic Thai architecture, a central tower topped by a restaurant, and so much more. Now, construction was set to start way back in 1972, but an energy crisis and a downturn in tourism put it on pause. The Grand Floridian was ultimately built on the side of the Asian Hotel. Now, another hotel that was set to be created was Disney's Persian Resort. This was set to be reminiscent of Middle Eastern architecture, with spires and domes all over, and a monorail route to Magic Kingdom. Plans for this hotel were also impacted by that 1970s energy crisis. They were briefly brought up again in the 1970s when the Shah of Iran reportedly offered to pay for the project, but the Iran Revolution put an end to those plans. Finally, Disney's Venetian Resort was the final resort planned for that general monorail resort area that never got created. Disney's Venetian Resort was set to be located between the Transportation and Ticket Center and Disney's Contemporary Resort. It would have been themed to, you guessed it, Venice, complete with canals and all that jazz. The 1970s energy crisis also ended these plans. Now, this same site again was then considered for another hotel called Disney's Mediterranean Resort. This one would have been themed to a Greek fishing village. It wasn't built reportedly because of the swampy nature of the construction site, which would have made things very expensive. What I'm gathering here is that this monorail resort loop would have been more of a World Showcase resort loop, which again, not a bad idea. Okay, I am here at Pop Century for another lie that Disney got away with, and that's the legendary Years Hotel. Another hotel that was planned for Disney World but never opened to the public was the legendary Years over at Disney's Pop Century Hotel. If you visited Disney's Pop Century when it opened in 2003 and for several years after its opening, you may have noticed a bridge connecting the existing Pop Century resort to a somewhat built yet unfinished hotel. This is the bridge. Hey, look at this bridge.
While the existing Pop Century Resort covers the classic years, meaning 1950s to 1990s, the Legendary Years side was meant to cover earlier parts of history between the 1900s and 1940s. That other half of the resort was set to have its own entrance, lobby, food court, and of course multiple buildings with the hotel rooms. Construction on the Legendary Years was already underway, but construction of the entire resort, both the classic and legendary sides, was put on hold in 2001 following the September 11th attacks.
Ultimately, the classic side got finalized and opened, but the legendary side was simply left abandoned. Work never returned over there. Instead, the buildings were left as sort of a hotel graveyard, a spooky, overgrown remainder of what could have been, with no update in sight. But in 2010, tell them, Fry.
But in 2010, Disney finally shared some exciting news. The Legendary Years side of Pop Century would be redone and would become Disney's Art of Animation Resort. Ultimately, that resort was finalized and opened, becoming a very popular hotel pick.
Hey.
Huh?
Tag yourself. Art of Animation. What are you? What theme are you?
Oh. No, I like cars.
Finding Nemo. So do you ever sit around and think, gosh, Disney should build another theme park in another part of the United States?
Well, you're not alone.
I was asking if you thought that.
Oh. I mean, yes, I would like one closer to where I live.
Well, Fry Bucket, you're not alone. Because back in the 1990s, Disney did announce that a whole other theme park would be built in Virginia, Disney's America.
Disney's America would immerse guests in the history of the United States. Years of planning and development went into the park, and there were press releases and concept art released about the park. It would be smaller than Disneyland and would only feature about a few major attractions.
So some of these attractions, right, there would be a lagoon called Freedom Bay, trains to ride, a pre-Civil War era town, the Hall of Presidents attraction, a Native American section with a Lewis and Clark raft ride, and more. But the backlash to this park was fierce, coming from citizens groups, local landowners, and historians. There's even a Senate subcommittee hearing about whether the park should be built. The park was ultimately reimagined in 1994 and became Disney's American Celebration. It would be less political and more focused on history, with working factory tours of American companies, a version of Living with the Land ride, and more.
But even that park wasn't really a viable option. In 1994, the project was canceled. Another giant lie is hidden in plain sight in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Take a close look at the signs in Disney's Animal Kingdom Park the next time you're there. Notice an animal on there that doesn't quite seem to be represented in the park? Dinos, check. Lions, check. Elephants, check. Wait, is that a dragon? Yeah, it is. The dragon isn't there by some kind of accident. No, there was actually supposed to be a mythical themed land built in Animal Kingdom called Beastly Kingdom. Beastly Kingdom was set to be a big part of the second phase of Animal Kingdom. It would have been located where Pandora, the world of Avatar, is now. The land would have featured attractions that focus on mythical creatures like dragons and unicorns. You'd have 3 paths in the land: nice, beautiful, and dangerous. There would have also been a ride called Quest of the Unicorn, which would have had a walk-through maze and ultimately a face-to-face encounter with an audio animatronic unicorn. There were a number of other rides planned too, including a thrilling roller coaster called Dragon's Tower. Budget cuts became the downfall of this land as Disney realized that the cost of caring for real animals was more than expected. Hidden mentions of the land remain in Animal Kingdom, like the dragon on the logo, a unicorn section in the parking lot, and more. But ultimately, it was simply not to be. Now that Pandora has taken its place, it seems Beastly Kingdom may simply be a memory of the past. But you never know where elements of its design and plans will end up in the future. Ever wonder why Muppets Courtyard at Hollywood Studios even exists?
I was wondering that.
Oh good, I'm gonna help you.
Oh good.
Muppets Courtyard was originally a small piece of a much bigger idea. Disney had conceived of a Muppets Studio Land concept which had included the great Muppet movie ride that Muppets creator Jim Henson described as a backstage ride explaining how movies were shot and all the information is wrong.
Then Disney CEO Michael Eisner wanted to outright own the Muppets brand and was in deep talks with Jim Henson to make that happen. When Disney's Hollywood Studios, then Disney MGM Studios, opened, Henson was even on hand at the dedication of the park. Things took a turn though in 1990 when Jim Henson passed away. Honestly, one of the saddest days in the history of history. The first portion of this new Muppet Studios had already been completed at the time but had not opened, Muppet Vision 3D, what you see behind us. Henson's children decided that they needed to hold on to their father's legacy and decided to stop all work with Disney on the proposed land or selling of the Muppets brand.
Frank Oz, who voiced a number of the Muppet characters alongside Henson, you might know him better as the voice of Yoda in Star Wars.
Or Miss Piggy, or Fozzie Bear.
Oz spoke to the Henson family, pleading with them to let their father's work on Muppet Vision 3D be shared with the world. The family agreed and only allowed Disney to open the Muppets Courtyard area with the attraction. The rest of the plans were put to rest. We may not get the Muppet-themed land that Jim Henson had envisioned in Hollywood studios, but the legacy of the characters still live on in the park.
Way back in 2019, Disney announced at the D23 Expo that as part of the Epcot transformation, Spaceship Earth would be getting a new narration, new music, and a new focus on defining the human story. After the announcement was made, Disney mentioned that we could expect changed scenes and even release some concept art. A few months later, it was revealed that the attraction would close on May 26, 2020 to receive this makeover. However, as we all know, due to Disney World's closure in March of 2020, that put the refurbishment on hold. We got official confirmation that the construction wasn't yet happening in June of 2020. Now, the park reopened in July along with the existing Spaceship Earth ride, but it's been that way ever since. Ultimately, the portion of the Epcot experience that talked about this reimagining was removed, and Disney shared that the project had been postponed. During a media event in 2022, various aspects of the Epcot transformation were discussed. Notably missing, Spaceship Earth. Disney has been really quiet about this since the statement about its indefinite postponement. So while it's possible the plans for it will resurface and become a reality in the future, right now it's a lie. Do you remember that there was supposed to be a third ride here in Galaxy's Edge?
I do remember because I was very excited for it.
Me too! Okay, look, so this attraction, informally named the Bantha Ride, which... Well, I'm sure, yes. Hey, can we clear deck 1 for A-Wing? Okay, great. Yeah, got it. Okay, so this Bantha Ride, it would take guests on an opportunity to explore Galaxy's Edge from the back of the iconic creatures from Tatooine, which is riding a Bantha. But now you can, on the Galactic Star Cruiser, you can eat Bantha.
Or drink Bantha milk.
Or drink Bantha milk. The excretion of a Bantha. That's the blue milk. You're welcome. This trackless ride would take guests through the Outpost City, past the Resistance base, and around the First Order. Now, of course, like with most abandoned projects, budget cuts happened, but with Disney's recent announcement of investing $60 billion in the theme parks over the next decade, it's possible that an expansion for Galaxy's Edge is in the works. Fingers crossed. Now, as Imagineer and my good friend, I'm gonna drop this name because I don't get this opportunity to do this often, Scott Trowbridge, he's remarked, in Imagineering, no good idea ever dies. So, Scott, shout out to you. They probably took your Bantha.
Oh no, my Bantha.
Back in 2019, Disney revealed the Play Pavilion as part of the massive Epcot transformation. The new attraction was set to overtake the Wonders of Life Pavilion, right behind me, and take guests into an innovative, interactive city bursting with games and hands-on activities. The space was also supposed to allow guests to interact with Disney characters and was set to open in time for the 50th anniversary of Disney World. Like many other projects, it was delayed as no new opening timeline has been revealed, and no new details have been shared in a while. However, this pavilion was previously included as part of the show at the Epcot Experience, which closed in March 2022, which leads us to believe that it's still on the list of ongoing projects. On top of that, the pavilion was included as one of the prints in the line of limited edition Epcot posters, so currently it seems like this project is still happening? Maybe? Maybe not? I don't know. We're just waiting on Disney to give us an update. Me personally, I love a good play pavilion. I like pavilions and I like to play. So we're just gonna combine the two. I'm gonna see if she can go on the poop river. Let's see if she oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, guys, she's about to walk into the poop river. It's gonna happen. Look at her. Oh my gosh, look at her, guys. Nothing. Nothing. I didn't say anything. You're in the poop river. Oh no, I'm in the poop river.
No.
I didn't think this through.
Is it really a poop river?
Oh.
Now, one thing that Disney fans love to talk about is Poop River in Liberty Square in the Magic Kingdom. The brown pathways throughout Liberty Square are said to represent the way that waste was disposed of in colonial times. Basically, that people would do their business into pots, which would then be poured out along the streets.
It's so gross. While doing research for his 40 Magic Kingdom Secrets video, Breedlove might have debunked this rumor.
While looking back at old photographs, these sections were actually originally cobblestone, but it was so hard on parade floats and dancers that they were removed and replaced with very fine pebbles, which sort of look like shrunken down and safer cobblestones.
That part is very true. His theory is that Disney just intended to shrink down the cobblestones, but so many people thought it was meant to be poop based on the historical accuracy that Disney decided it wasn't hurting anyone for people to think that, so they just sort of adopted it into their lore. And I will say they have adopted it so much into their lore that they actually teach it. We both can vouch for this. They talk about it in traditions, and traditions is like their entry class for all cast members joining. Every cast member has to go through traditions, and it's usually where you get your ID and you get your name tag, and Mickey Mouse usually greets you, and there's typically a small like portion of that where you get to go into the park, and they always talk about Poop River. So Disney is teaching cast members about Poop River, and they've accepted it into their lore, but we just don't know if it was always that way.
Was that the original intention? Still unconfirmed.
Sounds like a lie to me.
I think it's a lie. Next up, let's talk about Port Disney. A planned resort area in Long Beach, California called Port Disney was announced in 1990. It would have featured a marine-themed amusement park called Disney Sea, along with a marina and a cruise ship port. In fact, the RMS Queen Mary would have served as a focal point of the resort. The idea for the park revolved around a heavy focus on conservation and marine life. Additions to Disneyland in Anaheim required just the city's approval, but to build in Long Beach required approval of state and local governments, making it much harder for Disney to do as they liked. The project never had a coordinated effort from everyone involved at Disney, so much so that some believe Disney never had a true interest in constructing the park, though millions were spent in the early stages of planning. Although plans were scrapped for this project in favor of a new project called Westcot, which we'll get to next, the name Disney Sea and some of the ideas for the theme park were taken over to Japan and used for Tokyo Disney Sea, which opened in 2001.
It's really incredible, and you can see a lot of it on the channel right now.
Exactly.
Oh, but things get even weirder from there for Californians. Similar to Florida's Epcot, Disney conceived Westcot. It is basically exactly what you're thinking. The blueprint even called for replicas of classic Epcot attractions such as Journey into Imagination and an even bigger Spaceship Earth. Budget restraints kept Westcot from becoming a beautiful reality. Instead of ending up with a bizarro version of Epcot and its famous World Showcase, but with different countries, we got Disney California Adventure Park instead. Let's all discuss one of Disney's most ambitious ideas, the SS Disney. The SS Disney wasn't going to be a cruise ship like you'd find like with Disney Cruise Line. It was actually a full-fledged floating theme park.
16 to 18 classic Disney attractions, such as It's a Small World, Space Mountain, Star Tours, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Mad Hatter's Teacups, and Roger Rabbit's Toontown Spin were all planned to be aboard. There were also plans for 6 restaurants, gift shops, and more. Guests would board the ship in the morning and have 8 hours at sea to ride rides and explore.
So it should be noted that Michael Eisner, former CEO, was on board with the idea. Until his partner and president of the company, Frank Wells, passed away in 1994. The planning group at corporate didn't want to do a floating theme park anymore with Wells out. They wanted to do a cruise ship instead. This began Disney's journey into cruise lines, and in 1998, the Disney Cruise Line finally set sail. Okay, would you go on this floating theme park?
Absolutely, I would.
This feels very, very Black Mirror.
It feels like my brain cannot process how even just regular cruise ships float in the water. So with thinking about all that it takes to build all of these attractions.
Imagine something the size of Disney World.
Yeah.
Floating on the water.
I know. I don't know. But it would be really cool.
But what if there's a shark?
On the boat?
Sure.
What do you mean what if there's a shark when you're on a Disney cruise ship?
Exactly. All right, we're currently in Toy Story Land for one of the biggest lies, I think, in all of Disney World. So in Toy Story 4, there is a character named, not a spoon, but...
A fork. Forky.
Forky. Mm-hmm. And what is Forky?
He is trash.
Yes, but what kind of trash?
He's a fork made with other crafty things.
One more time. What is Forky?
He's a fork.
No.
Cutlery.
Nope. Forky is a spork. Forky is a spork. He should have. He is lying to us. He is representing himself as a fork when he knows he is a spork.
Wow, I've never thought about that.
Thank you. Moving on.
All right, final lie.
Final lie.
Final lie.
Why have you brought me here to Walt Disney Presents?
The bonus lie.
Oh, a bonus lie.
Now, this isn't directly related to Disney World as a theme park resort, so
Okay.
that's why it's here as a bonus.
Got it.
But it's too fascinating not to include. You may be very well aware of the fact that Walt Disney smoked and ultimately passed away from complications of lung cancer.
Right.
But did you know that Disney may have done some things to hide a bit of that smoking past, some of which are in plain sight?
I must know. Shall we go inside?
Yes. Now, according to the Huffington Post, one Disney employee claimed that the famous two-finger point cast members use in the park harkens back to Walt's old smoking habit. Sage, explain the cast member two-finger point.
Well, they say that pointing with one finger is rude, so you gotta point with two fingers, like a flight attendant, like this, and then so you say, "Hey, where's Joffrey's?" Well, you gotta find it in that direction.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's right, because we were both cast members.
We were both cast members. Yeah. That was seemingly confirmed in 2013 by Tom Hanks when he was promoting the Saving Mr. Banks Disney film. During an appearance on The Ellen Show, Hanks claimed that old photos of Disney used to show the mogul pointing to various Disney attractions while holding a cigarette between two fingers. In more recent years, when the company wanted to dissociate itself with smoking, the cigarettes were airbrushed out, making it seem as if Walt simply pointed at things with two fingers for no apparent reason. That gesture actually made its way into the film. Some other sources seem to indicate that photos of Walt Disney have been altered in certain areas, specifically within the parks, to remove cigarettes from them. From what we've experienced, it would be a true challenge, if not impossible, to find a photo of Walt with a cigarette in the Walt Disney Presents area of Hollywood Studios. Disney does have a studio-wide policy forbidding smoking on film now, which is a big reason why there could not be any smoking in the Saving Mr. Banks film. But Eagle Eyes will find an unlit cigarette in the film.
You know what I didn't realize I was doing?
What?
Look directly behind you.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I learned a lot. What about you?
I did learn a lot. I knew like half of these, but it was really fun making the shot list for this video and learning new things, and I hope you learned something new as well.
Let us know if we missed any lies, because I like to know what I'm being lied to.
Yeah.
I don't know, like when someone's name is a lie.
Or when someone tells you that they brought a cream cheese bagel from home and they didn't, they bought it in the park.
That's part of a Game Master thing. You'll see that. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Now go watch Emma and Quincy's D23 video to see if we got any updates on any of these abandoned projects.
Bye.